Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming. It's Monday. It's my second time here on the internet. We had DCA this morning, which was a good show, but there's still so much to talk about. I was thinking of names for this video, and I wanted to just call it WOW or Melting Faces or whatever, but it's bizarre because it's almost too predictable what's happening right now. So we'll try. Keep it down and again, share more data. Got a new model, which might terrify some. But again, I like to try find ways of backing into exactly what's going on. And again, for the first time in history, we are seeing an unprecedented amount of capital entering into a market with unparalleled scarcity. Okay, that's the story. That's been the thesis since 2017, but now it's really playing out. And this could be the most remarkable economic experiment ever in the history of mankind. And we are the beneficiaries because we are in early. So well done, everybody. Happy Monday. Crypto is now at 2.71 trillion. The volume, $160 billion. And that's a Sunday. Today's Monday, but the data's not in for today. Yesterday we did 160 billion. And I say weekends is when it pumps. And it did just that. I'll explain exactly why that's happening. Fear and greed is 82, which is fine. When it starts getting into the 90s, you get a little bit concerned. But now we're going to talk about pushing higher. And again, thank you as well to the mods in the chat. I see you all there. And everybody for coming. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Daus Fam, number 4, Paul Friel, Ema, Shelley, and everybody else. It's as far back as I can read. So let's jump in, and thank you all for coming. Thank you as well to everybody on Patreon as well. We have a new one here from the team. Let me read this. Nomad247 says, your Patreon is chock-a-block, full of data and worth every penny. Thanks, Nomad. Yes, I'm very active in Patreon. So I thought about doing a survey of, am I posting too much? And then I said, well, you can always mute it if it's too much, but there's just so much to share right now. It's a crazy time. And of course, this is the Bitcoin only playlist, everybody. For those who just want Bitcoin only content, now you have it. And these are very popular. Halving clock, 37 days. 37 days. And guess what just happened? Bitcoin flipped silver. That is huge. We said that would happen this year. It's just happening a little bit earlier than expected. Market cap of silver, $1.386 trillion. And silver's been around for 5,000 years like gold, maybe even longer. And you can see gold just smoked it. And next in the box is Google, to be slayed. Rightfully so. They need to fix their AI. Anyhow, let's talk about some more both exciting and almost terrifying news. So Cathie Wood had a $1 million Bitcoin target for 2030 for the longest time. She just revised that target. In what way? Well, they're coming out with a new model, a new Bitcoin model. But now, ARK Invest Cathie Wood recently declared that Bitcoin will surpass the $1 million mark well before 2030. I'll repeat that. Well before 2030. And that was her old timeline. She said the ETFs have changed everything. Again, we are seeing unprecedented money flow into this asset. And there is nothing in the cupboard. The cupboard is bare. However that nursery rhyme goes, I don't even remember. But you know what I'm talking about. Let's talk about some other stuff. Touching this morning, the escape from fiat from Gabor. In case you missed DCA. But thank goodness for Bitcoin. And thank goodness I get the opportunity to tell people about Bitcoin and create things like whole coiners and stuff. Hello, Piper. Thank you so much. Hope your dad's doing better, by the way. But Bitcoin's second greatest achievement is offering a lifeboat out of a system that's designed to collapse. That is fiat, ladies and gentlemen. It will melt away. It's guaranteed. Only it's melting at a more accelerated pace. So be careful if you hold a big bag of fiat. And I know people, I even have good friends, that are sitting on massive amounts of fiat for years and years and years and doing nothing with it. Sitting in a checking account at a bank, earning nothing, depleting by a massive amount. And this is the piece that I want to bring your attention to. This is from Fred Kruger on Twitter. It's kind of a joke. It's a meme joke. But in the old days, this is how it worked. The offer is $71,000, $71,600 on 1,000 coins. That's the best I can do. as your broker, I advise you to take it. Right now, okay, there are so many bids. Bids are offers for an asset. Asks are what people want to get for it. There's so much bid coming in. Literally, the market makers are scrambling. I think I covered it in yesterday in the Q&A that the miners, even tiny little obscure miners, are getting call from random OTC desks. Got any Bitcoin? Got any Bitcoin? We're getting really nervous here. We don't have any. We need it. Literally, soon, people will be able to sit there on something like Coinbase and place a limit sell order at a massive number. It'll probably get filled, but I advise you, it's too early to even think about selling or think about taking profit. There's nothing but hardness on the horizon, and money flow is increasing. I'll also prove that in a minute. Right now, actually, not even in a minute, right now, as you know, I analyze volumes, I analyze data, I build models, and I've got a new volume analysis model. This is just back of the napkin code I ran through the machine. So far, this is before IBIT was even finished today, and I reckon they at least will get to 70 million of volume. That's 70 million multiplied by 41.12 gets you, whatever, $3 billion. Of that, a certain percentage converts, and I built a formula around it. That means the input into Blackrock IBIT Trust alone today will be $559.2 million at least, if my model continues to be correct, which is normally within plus or minus 5%, normally to the downside, by the way, so it's actually higher. That means BlackRock need 8,000 Bitcoin tonight. They need 8,000 Bitcoin. Get me on the phone. Hey, you got 8,000 Bitcoin to sell me? And it's not just them, it's everybody else. And also when you analyze the ETF flow news as well, you'll see here very carefully that the Fidelity volume is higher than GBTC, which is normally the opposite case. That means it's going to be a low dumpage day for GBTC and a good day for Fidelity. The Fidelity buyers convert at a much higher rate than the IBIT guys. The IBIT tend to scalp a lot. The Fidelity people kind of set it and forget it. Money goes in, buys Bitcoin. There's no scalping on Fidelity. So that's another interesting thing. And in more good news, let's look at some rainbows here. This is the rainbow chart, the power law. All you need to know is we are still very, very early. We typically go up to the red, and we're not even in the green yet per the power law, which I am working on a model that looks at an amalgamation of power law, history, Metcalfe's law squared, or kind of our bullish Metcalfe version, and we'll compare them all together and see where we come up with. But that'll be fun. But either way, it's crazy. Again, crazy. We have diminishing liquid supply and ever-increasing demand on a daily basis. Where do we go at the halving? That's the question. That's the question I get from you all 100 times. And people say, why you keep making these price prediction models for the halving? It's because you ask for them. And I do what the audience wants, everybody. So the question is, what will the price be on April 18th, 2024? We don't know, but we got a pretty good idea. First of all, we hit another new all-time high today. We hit $72,764. It's 72,300. Taking a little $300, $400 breather as we speak. But that's another new all-time high. I'm sick of even counting the new all-time highs. We are deep into price discovery right now. And there'll come a time when, again, they won't be able to find Bitcoin for sale. It's going to be fascinating. And I did make my prediction, which caused a lot of consternation as well. I did say, mathematically, if history repeats, we'll be at 99,000 in 40 days. And that was 3 or 4 days ago. The question is, can we get there? Let's have a look. I built another new model exactly for this. And unfortunately, if history repeats, based on my history I looked at from historic cycles, this model is now wrong. It's actually too low. The new model is even higher. But the new model only takes into account what happened so far this year. Okay, the actual percentage return so far this year on a daily basis. Very crude and simple model, but I'm always playing around with numbers. So the halving target, my original halving target is 99K. The price now, at the time, was 72,764. The growth required to get to 99,000 is 36%. Okay, that's considering where we've come from so far. From the bottom this year, we're up 84%. The average growth of Bitcoin per day is 1.2%. 1.2% goes up a day. There's some stocks that don't do that in a year. This is how much Bitcoin goes up in a day. We have 37 days left till the halving. Given the year-to-date rate of 1.2%, that'll increase the price by 44.4%, which will take us to $105,000. I know it sounds crazy, everybody. By the way, thank you for the likes. Every time there's a like, I see a little love heart pop up. And thank you, C-Man. And BD McGee, you're back. Good to see you. 105,000. It sounds crazy. But this is sandbagged, okay? And I was called out on Twitter by this person. This is Florida. So good from Glen Morris, USA. Measuring from Bitcoin, from the March 7th liftoff of $44,510, using James's underlying assumptions, we get to $124,000 at the halving. And thank you so much, Mr. Hammer. And I knew this. I didn't want to get too bullish or get people too excited or give them FOMO. That's not a good emotion to have. But Glen Morris, Florida is so good is correct. This model is technically sandbagged. And going back to this, the money flow is increasing and the assets getting harder. And I'll show you as well in a minute that the long-term holders aren't even selling. So it's the most spectacular, exciting setup we've ever had in the history of any asset on the planet. So well done, everybody, for being here. So thank you for that. Now let's go a little bit further. As I shared this morning on DCA, this is from Thomas. He believes there's a 200x in the future of Bitcoin. So again, everybody, don't get cute in the markets. You got a little bit of Bitcoin, you hold it. You hold it. Don't give it to anybody. You hold it. It's only a $1.3 trillion market cap, and Thomas believes it can go to $200 trillion. Okay, that'll smoke gold at $14 trillion, but gold is already being smoked by the Bitcoin ETFs. They're basically doing in 60 days what took gold 3 years to get to. That's how fast this thing is moving. And I'm not political in any way, but there's a good thing here too, is a presidential candidate, a guy called Trump. He's been talking very favorably about Bitcoin on the TV the whole time, okay? And he would not take it away from people, okay? This good thing is he will no longer threaten the Bitcoin world. But there is a side of the political spectrum that is very anti-crypto. Shout out, and I blocked some of the rudeness on this little meme, but, and I always say the internet's very cruel. I know when you're a public figure, you're on the receiving end of it, but they are really laying into Senator Warren hard, because crypto does not like people who are anti-crypto. And this guy is playing a clever card, because there's at least 40 to 60 million people that are voters in the US that own crypto. If you threaten to take it away, you're toast. Your political career is dead. And I hope, if there's anybody here in Massachusetts, I hope you know who Warren is, and I hope you know how important your vote is. And I don't care if somebody's left or right, but if they're anti-crypto, I do care, because it is the life raft that we started this whole story with that people need. If you are denied the life raft by somebody like this, you need to get them out of office, okay? Not political, harsh words, I know, but I get a bit passionate about that stuff. And in more happy news, the boomer money is entering the fray. Boomers are now beginning to buy Bitcoin because they're being told by their investment advisors. The investment advisors took 60 to 90 days to get comfortable with this thing. Is it real? Is it going to go up? Whatever. Now the investment advisors are FOMOing in to Bitcoin, and they're telling the boomers with $95 trillion, hey, get a little bit of this. Get a little bit of this insurance just in case. And after looking at the performance, it's crazy. Also, the world knows this. This is the debt spiral. And this is from the government, the Congressional Budget Office, CBO. And they normally sandbag like hell. They don't tell you the true story. Okay? The debt projection is going to the moon. If this was a stock, you would want to buy it. But if it's a fiat backed by debt, you want to shed the fiat. And you want to arb away from it as quickly as you possibly can. And that's what other people are doing in the world very cleverly. And other great news too as well. Shout out to everybody in the UK. We have a lot of followers here from the UK. I think it's my second biggest audience on the planet. But good news. The London Stock Exchange is accepting apps for Bitcoin ETNs, exchange traded notes. And it's going to happen as well real soon, in April probably. Now, the sad thing is the ETNs are only for professional investors. They're not for retail investors. Again, there's more exclusionary regime in the world, and I think it's awful. Shielding retail investors from massive gainers is criminal. Hopefully, the UK will revise their way and put pressure on whatever your local representative is to fix that as well. So the banks in the UK will not be as negative towards retail getting into it. Now, speaking of investments, and I know, by the way, and I know firsthand because we get the receipts here, we've created definitely way over 1,000 MicroStrategy millionaires in the computer. Probably an awful lot more because a lot of people know not to talk about what's happening. But literally thousands of MicroStrategy millionaires have been minted in the last 12 months in this community. So really proud to everybody for listening to me explaining how markets work and not listening to the FUD out there about what MicroStrategy is. In simple terms, it's a call option. It's a leverage call option on the future of Bitcoin. That's why I went all in on the thing like a crazy man, but hey, it really paid off. Now, Michael Saylor came out today, he's on CNBC, and he said Bitcoin is going to eat gold and divert capital from risk assets and ETFs like the S&P 500. That's what the SPY is. It's the S&P 500 ETF. He's now telling people, not only is it going to suck the life out of gold, but also one of the biggest ETF in the world is the S&P 500 SPY. It's going to suck that too. And people are going to diversify. That whole 60-40 portfolio I spoke about, 60% equities, 40% bonds. Bond piece is gone. So that 40% has to find a home. And now the equity market's threatened by this. It's crazy. And this goes back to the very beginning as well. You see everything in the story is interrelated. I think it was Thomas talks about how Bitcoin could 200x because it's going to eat into all the other asset classes. All of them, the 900 trillion, which will soon be a quadrillion, will be eaten into by Bitcoin. But there's more. MicroStrategy bought again. They borrowed $800 million, and they found another $21.7 million. And they borrowed $800 million at 0.65% until the year 2030. And they bought 12,000 Bitcoin. Ta-da! Blackrock are going to have to buy 8,000 today. These guys bought 12,000 last week. From the issuance of the convertible note to getting the cash in to buying it, they did it in days because Michael Saylor knows you cannot wait. You can't sit there and say, I'll do it next week, no problem. No. Because every day you wait, the price goes higher. And it's killing people. It's killing the shorts and the people that aren't on the train. So bear that in mind. And Michael Saylor knows that better than anybody. And this is a beautiful little chart of MicroStrategy market cap and how it has benefited from Bitcoin from the year 2001 to today. Okay, we had a huge spike late 2020. I was in that trade, but the trade now has gone even more crazy. And people don't understand, how is MicroStrategy nearly $30 billion? The day they bought Bitcoin for the first time in August 2019 or 2020, I can't remember all the years of 2020, I think it was. August 2020. Yes, it was because I started the channel about 3 months later on that exact trade. Madness. But see, I'm getting all my years confused. That's how fast time is going. That's why there's such a sense of urgency for everybody to get on the train. But literally, the market cap of MicroStrategy at the time was $1.2 billion. Now it's nearly 30. That's insane. Today it went up another $200. It's madness. And because Michael Saylor is very ruthlessly competitive, he wanted to get back on top of Blackrock, who has to buy 8,000 Bitcoin today. And here you see how much Blackrock have versus MicroStrategy. And MicroStrategy is 205,000. Blackrock is about 200,000, which will be 208,000 by the end of the day if my math is correct. We'll find out tomorrow on the analysis too. And the reason I talk so much about MicroStrategy and have done for the last 3 years is because for many of you out there, it was your only on-ramp to Bitcoin. You're only one. You couldn't buy a Bitcoin in your retirement accounts, etc., but you could buy a MicroStrategy, and that's what's minted so many millionaires in the community. And Bitcoin Monger says MicroStrategy is going to $3,000. Extrapolate that. What he's basically saying is Bitcoin's going to double from here. Okay? Don't sell too early. Not financial advice. I know people have PTSD and they just want to take profits. Oh, I made so much money. I'm going to take a bit off the table. Let it ride. Let your winners ride, okay? Very important. Now, as I always say too, this BTFP is going to cause a problem. This is and trust me, it does lead back to Bitcoin. I'll explain in a second. But there is this huge repayment crisis that's going to happen with the banks in the US and probably similar structures in other countries around the world. The banks have borrowed from the BTFP, have to repay, I think it's nearly $100 billion by the 4th of April. And that is a significant amount of repayments in 3 weeks. And this comes at a time when finding liquidity is already challenging, the deposits in these banks are non-existent, and it highlights by the difficulty NYCB faced, basically going almost to zero in a very short window of time. How will they pay back this $100 billion? It's very unlikely. And this situation is compounded by the fact that banks cannot simply default on these loans without triggering cross-default clauses and a big banking crisis, making the situation very precarious out there. Shout out to Joe Consorti, who has the reserve constraint in this chart for the BTFP. The regional, community, small commercial, medium-sized commercial banks all depend on it. And they've got to repay $100 billion in 3 weeks. Now, people say, oh, that's going to be a banking crisis and that's going to kill Bitcoin price. But you know what? Bitcoin loves a crisis. Remember what happened at the last banking crisis in March of 2023? Bitcoin went up and people realized, as I started the story with, it's the life raft. So for those who are shorting Bitcoin because of the banking crisis that's about to hit, study history. Bitcoin goes up in a crisis. It's built for a crisis. It was given birth to because of the global financial crisis. And people still can't put that together in their heads. Oh, God. And I try every day, but I can only get through to so many people. I've given up trying to reach everybody. Now, Bitcoin miners are weak. Everybody's asking, why are the Bitcoin miners weak? What's going on? Well, this is a beautiful chart from Blockware Solutions. And here it shows you, focus your eyes on the pink. Your average electricity costs somewhere between 6 and 9 cents. If you're in California, you're probably paying 30 cents a kilowatt hour. Therefore, there's no miners in California. But these are the shut-off prices compared to the Bitcoin price. So, for example, we are now at that pink level for the S19J Pro, which used to be a state-of-the-art rig if your electricity costs 9 cents. I'll repeat this. If your electricity costs 9 cents, you got to turn off that state-of-the-art rig from last year off because you can't mine efficiently and effectively. So just to explain it as well, if you have just 8 cents per kilowatt electricity rate, your S19J Pro, your break-even price of Bitcoin is 64.5. This, by the way, is after the halving, so in 35 days, 37 days. Your S19 XP is 50,400. Your S21 is 41,000. The miners, as I've been stressing, with the 3 types of rigs on the right-hand side, are the ones that will make the most after the halving. Okay? If the price stays here at 70,000, half the miners are going to hit the wall. That's just a fact. That's what I've been saying for a long time as well. So that's why the miners are weak, because the market is worried about the miners not making it. Fortunately for them, though, the price is above exactly that magical $70,000. But if you have old rigs and you got 9 cents electricity, you're going to need a Bitcoin price of $270,000 with an S9. Okay? Think about that. Now, the shorts continue to short Bitcoin. This is again from Bitcoin Monger. The beatings will continue till all the shorts go broke, and they keep coming in and they keep doubling down, trying to make back the money that they've lost shorting Bitcoin, and they don't understand the math behind it. Shorts starting to build up again at $73,000. We are $500 from that level, $600, and therefore we will see more squeezes. this week. TikTok. And that's the good thing, actually, because when they get wrecked, the ETFs get their bags filled and the price goes up. So I just feel bad for the people that don't know what they're doing. But what are you going to do? Let's look at 3 little charts and then it's a wrap, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I don't even know how many people are watching. We got 8,000 people watching live. Woohoo! You guys are hungry. So let's look at 3 charts real fast. I'll let you go. First of all, shout out to OCC, On-Chain College. And basically, this is the NUPL. What this basically talks about is you can see Bitcoin's most convicted long-term holders, they are still holding, even though they are holding at unrealized profit levels that usually occur, we're occur like at the cycle peak. This is happening way before. But the good news is they're not selling. So this tells you 2 things. 1, again, the supply is scarce. And 2, we have a lot higher to go, everybody. Do not take profits here. I'm giving you all the data points that tell you not to take profits. In addition, let's look at the LILO model, what I call layer in, layer out model. What's interesting about this, coincidentally, or I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but guess what is at $105,000? That's level 7 on the model. We are currently heading towards level 6, which is 76,000. Typically, at these levels, there's some resistance. We could just blow through it like we did with level 6. Probably will. But there could be a little stickiness at 76,000. If we do blow through, we're going straight to the next level, which would be 105,000. And what is familiar with that number 105,000? Let's go back. That's 105,000. And that 105,000 that I put together there was sandbagged. It could be 124 if you assume the history since March and ignore the first 2 months of the year. So, more exciting stuff. And in addition, options analysis. I have to shout out to these derbit options traders. All year, for the last year and a half, I've been sharing exactly where they're playing month by month by month. They've been so spot on. Their target, however, was too low for the halving. They were all FOMOing into $70,000 strike price. Now they've moved them out to $100,000. Another point of confluence. The highest bar is at $100,000 for these options traders. Heavy loads. 65% of the contracts are call options, which is bullish. And whatever, there's some people with shorts at around 40,000, 50,000. It's not going to happen, not going to get filled. But that's okay. A market needs both players. A market needs people who don't know what they're doing with people who know what they're doing, and the winner takes most, like is the way of the world. So this is exciting. So this is the 3rd or 4th point of confluence now with 100,000 by the halving. The options positions. Final chart as well. Shout out to JVS. James Van Straten, I think, is on vacation right now. Is interesting. What this is a Bitcoin 4-year CAGR, which is compound annual growth rate chart. And what's interesting is he said all-time high by halving, boom, smash that, beaten, done. Diminishing return cycle, we'll see pretty soon if that's going to happen. Now, what this chart represents is the black line is the Bitcoin price, and the gold line is the 4-year compound annual growth rate. And the gold line, you'll notice as well, is down. The question is, will it go up? Will we break records? If that's the case, that means diminishing returns will be a thing of the past. And the most recent data points in this chart show, again, a sharp increase in CAGR way before the halving, suggesting that the growth rate of Bitcoin has been particularly strong, and we have a long way to go for the CAGR as we go forward, everybody. More excitement. Again, using data, not astrology, actual numbers that prove the point. Anyway, the point is we're going far higher, ladies and gentlemen. Be safe out there. Have a good time. Thank you for the support. Hit the like and subscribe to the Bitcoin Only playlist. If you like this type of content, no shill, no frill, just data every 60 seconds. People always ask what's KPM? It means knowledge per minute. My standard is to give you new knowledge every 60 seconds. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat. Thank you for everybody who came. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.